Okay, so for Thursday, or whichever day you're going to work on this week, I wanted to move past the Azure setup and the yum update and start talking about fail2ban and exactly what is it. So I told you prior to spring break that I had a Linux system hacked, a botnet tried to brute force different user accounts and passwords and was able to get into the system. So any point that somebody on internet can hit and attempt to log in is a great place for an online brute force attack. So to help prevent that, there's been programs created, fail2ban for Unix and Linux systems, IP-cop, I believe, or whale2ban. There's some for Windows. You can search for Windows alternatives for fail2ban and review which one that you might need if you have a Windows server that is accessible to the internet. So this fail2ban will block the IP address, the attacking botnet's IP addresses, if they try to hack your system more than a few attempts. So I've got this set up on any Linux production system that I put out, and I've not had somebody brute force one of my Linux systems since I've been implementing this fail2ban, and I've had it out there since probably about 12 years now on different Linux systems. So there's a link for a website to go to and look up fail2ban instructions. So some of these may not be exact on our implementation. I'm going to go ahead and open up PuTTY again. And I'm going to launch the PuTTY into our Azure Linux machine. So it says we need to install fail2ban, and it says issue the yum install, basically the extra package release, EPEL-release. Now we know that those instructions are for the root user. It says follow as a root user, so I'm not sure how that they're working with the $sign right there. You either have to do sudo or log in as root and have a £sign. So in our case, we're using sudo because we don't have a root password. That's also extra security. So sudo yum install EPEL release. This adds an extra folder from the App Store, basically, that has extra or extended packages that are not normally installed with the commercial release of Red Hat. So this fail2ban is a separate group of individuals creating the program. It's not part of the original distribution of CentOS. The next part is to actually install the fail2ban program. So again, I'd have to issue a sudo command and then the yum install fail2ban. And since this is a CentOS machine that's using Sshd, you install fail2ban systemd. That also lets it know that it's using the systemd firewall instead of an older IP tables style firewall that some other Unix systems use. Once the installation completes, we'll have to use the systemd and enable the service and start it up. I actually probably want to wait until I get it configured before that issue step 2. So I'm going to wait on this installation to complete. Now I have to hit yes to install. Yes to accept the new security identifiers for the packages. So before I enable, like I said, I'm not following the instructions complete. I've set this up before, and I would rather have the configuration done before I try to start it up. So you don't want to ever edit the original configuration file. It's actually set up to read modifications in a file called jail.local. So standard is to copy the original configuration file and rename it as jail.local. I hit my up arrow key. I forgot to issue the sudo command. So now it has been copied. The next step would be use the VI editor and configure the jail.local file. Before that, I actually go and modify the jail.local, I need to look at some log files and figure out where exactly the security information for logins are being stored. So I'm actually going to change directory into /var/log. I'll issue an ls command to see what files are there. So I see I have a messages. I also see I have a secure. So I'm going to look at both of these. I'll issue a sudo cat secure. I noticed that I do see Sshd. Another way that I could verify, maybe I don't see Sshd and it's way up at the top. Instead of scrolling and trying to look for it, I could issue the same cat secure, pipe it to our search command. If you remember from operating systems class, grep is for search. And search for Sshd. I keep forgetting the sudo. So that's what I was looking for. I didn't know if Sshd was being logged to the secure or to the messages folders or messages file. I've seen it done both ways on different versions of CentOS and between different Linux distributions. So now I know that it's definitely in a file in the folder var log and secure. So depending on your Linux system and version, you may have to read some documentation, look around where is the authentication that you're wanting to protect being stored. I'm going to go ahead and change into the etc folder under fail2ban. I'll issue an ls command. I see all of the configuration files. I see a jail.local. That's the one the website tells us to edit. It comes up, there's lots of blue text, quite difficult to read. So I'm going to start scrolling down. And these are the global defaults for fail2ban to run. So scroll down, there's a few items here talks about ban time and find time. So I'm going to keep on scrolling down in my PuTTY. And I see it looks like that this version must be fairly new. I noticed they have 10 minutes, and that is M. They used to have that as seconds. So it used to be 600 seconds, as you see on the website. So this is the first time I've seen this version allow you to put minutes in there. So the ban time. Once somebody's tried to break into the system, how long do you want to ban their IP address before that you unban it? The default is 10 minutes. The find time, how many minutes of the log file do you want to continuously monitor? So it's looking at the timestamps in the log file, and anything that's been entered within 10 minutes, if it sees login attempts, in this case 5 login attempts in 10 minutes, if they all fail, it'll ban the IP address. Now if it only sees 4 failed login attempts and somebody waits past the 10-minute mark and tries again, then it resets back to 0 as the count. 10 minutes found in real life is not good enough. The botnets out there know the fail2ban's default, and if they've tried successfully for 5 times and get knocked off, the botnet will tag as an active server and that you're probably running a system such as fail2ban, wait the 10 minutes, and then issue another string of 5 login attempts. So the botnets can be quite smart. The ban time I normally set at a year. So that's where you would bring up your calculator and figure out, so this allows minutes. Then I know there's 24 hours in a day. Multiply that by 60 minutes in an hour. You get 1,440 minutes in a day. So if I want that into a year, I'd multiply that by 365. So I would get 525,600 minutes. If you have an older fail2ban that requires it in seconds, you can multiply that again by 60 seconds. And it'll put it into seconds instead of minutes. So I'm going to edit my configuration file. I'll hit I for insert. It says read only. That probably means I didn't use sudo. I'm going to go ahead and escape and do a :Q to quit. I'll go ahead and reissue my VI, but this time with sudo in front of it, so I have root access to make the modifications. The colors also look better since it doesn't have the blue. So I'm going to come down here to where the ban time is located, hit I on the keyboard, and I'm going to delete the 10, put 500, 25,600 I believe it was. Yes, 525,600 M for minutes. If I needed to put it in seconds, like I said, I'd multiply it again by 60, and I would have put in 31,536,000 seconds. I would not have had to put the S. As you see here, 600 seconds is just 600. So I'm going to go ahead and hit escape. I'm going to do my :WQ to write and quit. So that saves the configuration file. The next step is to create a ban for specifically Sshd. So inside this folder that I'm in, etc fail2ban, I notice there's a jail.d, and that is where the service configuration is. So I'm going to change into jail.d, issue an ls command, and I see that there is nothing in here for Sshd. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new one. As it shows, I'll issue a sudo sshd.local. I'll hit enter. I forgot the vi command. Sudo vi sshd.local. So I hit enter. I need to create a new configuration. Hit insert on the keyboard, and actually I can just copy what's in the website with I, and hit insert mode. If I right click, it'll paste the configuration. Now I want to modify this ban time, and it was equal into seconds here, but I want to put it at the 525,600 minutes. So with that change, I would hit escape, and then I'm going to go ahead and save :WQ to write and quit. So at this point, I'm ready to start the fail2ban service. I'm going to go ahead and just change it back to my home directory. So I need to issue a sudo command, the system control enable fail2ban. So that will allow the service to run. If I spell system control correctly, so that right there is a security feature. It tells that the service has been designated to be startable by the administrator. And the next step, I'll hit my up arrow key, and instead of enable, I'm going to start the service. With the service started, I'm going to check for any errors. I'll issue a sudo command, concatenate. I'm going to look at the var log messages. And I'm going to see if anything looks bad. So I can see where I installed the fail2ban. I can see where fail2ban started and whether it's ready. I don't see any error messages in here. I'm going to continue to look. I'm going to change into the var log folder. I see that a fail2ban log has been created, so I'm going to view that with sudo cat fail2ban. I have to make my putty screen bigger. It's cutting off. Hit my up arrow key and re-look. I see that it's created the jail for Sshd. see the ban time has been changed into seconds, 31,536,000 seconds. And it's found my current IP address that I'm logging into into the system. So it was to see this IP address with failed login attempts for 5 times. It would create a firewall rule to block it for 1 year or 31 million seconds. So that is a critical step in hardening down any type of system that connects up to the internet that allows login. So SSH is right now the only protocol that we've got that's taking login attempts into our CentOS. But if we add anything else, email server, a login website, anything like that, you would want to set some type of firewalling tool to stop the botnets from brute forcing your system. Towards the bottom of the page, you can see some commands here that you will use next week, or at least a few days from now, to check the status of fail2ban and take screenshots of your results. You will have botnets attacking your system if you have the port 22 open, and if you're accessing this through PuTTY and doing the lab and have fail2ban, you will have attacks against your system. So to test that, and the screenshots that are needed, is to issue a sudo command, fail2ban -client, and you can issue a status to view the general status of it all, to see that we have one jail set up for the Sshd protocol. I need a screenshot of that, but mostly I'm needing a screenshot of adding Sshd to the end, and that will show, it appears that I've already got one banned IP address. So I've already had a botnet just from the time I've installed this onto the video. I thought the 207 was my IP. It apparently is not, though. So the botnet's already tried to hack the system and is now locked out. Next week, whenever you do this to run screenshots, you will likely have anywhere from 5 to 50 IP addresses listed in your IP ban list. So you'll need to let this run for several days before you run the screenshot. But at this point in time, you should see as successful that Sshd is up and running and the filter is working. You may not have a banned IP when you first set it up. Now suppose that you've tried to log in from home, or a colleague tried to log in and you've accidentally banned yourself. You have to connect from another IP address correctly, or from some type of remote console into the system, maybe through an Azure portal if you have that set up. And you could issue a fail2ban client, and you could do a set jail, which would be set Sshd in our case. Issue a keyword unban IP followed by the IP address that was accidentally banned. So far I've only had to do that, I believe, once. We did have an instructor that retired and he had banned himself, so I had to go in and unban only one IP address in the last 12 years. But on a busy site, you never know when somebody's going to forget their password or try a different password that they forgot which one they used for their account and lock themselves out. And this would be a 1-year lockout. But one good thing about setting this up is a legitimate user will call you, and hopefully you'll recognize their voice and know that it's a legitimate user. Your botnets aren't going to call you and go, hey, you've locked us out. Unban the IP so we can continue to botnet attack you. So hopefully this is a good learning tip to see how to secure down servers on the internet. So this is one layer of added security.